Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Paramount number 441 BCAL is what this is. This is a grade 1 surface mounted closer. You're probably going to be quite familiar with what this closer body looks like. It is quite certainly a ubiquitous closer that you're going to see in heavy duty grade 1. Grade 1 is an ANSI BHMA rating for a piece of hardware that has been tested and found to exceed 1 million cycles. It's actually the most stringent of, well, it has the highest cycle count. I don't know if it's the most stringent, but it has the highest cycle count, grade 1, million cycles. Nothing to say that this would stop working at the million and first cycle. It probably would go on for several million cycles, but that's what it's been tested to. Has that handy decal on there when you are adjusting the closer. After you've removed the cover, you have it installed, and then you're going to go to adjust the closer. There's going to be 3 valves in the front, 2 up here, and then 1 down here. There's 1 valve in the back, and we'll talk about that as well. There is an adjustment here. It's not a valve, it's just an adjustment. That's for a spring adjustment. And it's heavy, by the way. It weighs about 13 pounds. Let's do a visual tour of everything. So you've got the body itself. You've got the cover. The cover is meant to just obviously finish off the installation. You'll want to be sure to have the cover installed, especially if this is a fire-rated door. Be sure to get the cover installed. Here is the arm. Telescoping assembly on the forearm that will allow you to adjust for different, applications, different depths of frame, really. And then, of course, the main arm, which will connect to the spindle coming out of the closer. Completely reversible, non-handed. This closer is what we call tri-packed. It will include the parallel arm bracket that will allow you to install this in a push side mount where the closer body is installed on the door itself. After that, all that we're going to have left will be all the fasteners. There's far more here than you really need. 2, 6, 7. You probably could live on just 7 fasteners, depending on how you're going to install it. 4 for the body, 2 for the rod, the arm shoe, 1 to hold the main arm onto the body itself. Well, actually, no. Then you'll need the screw to hold the cover onto the top of the body, or 2 screws. The reason there are so many screws in here is because they give you self-drilling screws, they give you screws for machine applications, metal applications. There is a 5th hole spacer block here as well, and we'll go over all of that. Sex bolts are going to be included if you need to through bolt this through a hollow metal door or a wood door or fiberglass, whatever you're installing it to. These sex bolts are automatically included. Now, let's dispel the confusion about all the fasteners that are in here. And by the way, the mention earlier about installing the cover, here's a trick question. If you have a fire-rated door and you have this closer installed, and it's a listed closer. I mean, the arm has the listing on it. The cover has the listing on it as well. I don't think the body does anywhere. That's not, its parts are listed. It would make sense to have it on the arm so that you can visually confirm that it's a fire-rated product. The trick question is, if you have a fire-rated door and you install this closer, and after the initial installation the closer cover's gone missing, do you still have a fire-rated door? The first answer might be, well, yeah, sure, of course. I mean, what's that plastic cover going to do in a fire test? That fire test is going to get to 1800 degrees in 2.5 minutes, and it's going to park there for another 2 hours and 57 minutes. The cover's gone. It's in a liquid pile at the bottom of the door. However, the answer is you no longer have a fire-rated door. So if you are doing a job where there is a fire door assembly inspection happening and you're missing covers, put those on. Because the reason that it would fail a fire test is because if the installation instructions call out for it to be installed, if there's any mention of it anywhere in the installation instructions, then they have to be installed. Okay, so just a trick question that came up in a class I was sitting in, and yeah, many of us initially got that wrong. Does the door closer still work? Yeah, of course. Is it technically not fire rated? Yes, it's technically not fire rated. Why? It wasn't tested that way. We all know the door closer is still going to work with or without the cover, but it wasn't tested that way. So we just need to follow the rules the way that that's been done, the way it should be done. So I'm gonna go through all these several and many fasteners that are here. I'm gonna pick out the ones. So you're gonna have 4 self-drilling screws, machine screws. You're gonna have 4 self-tapping screws. That would be appropriate for a wood application, assuming that you're properly reinforced. So 8 of these screws I'm going to put back in the box. Those are for the body only. You can tell because of the length, they're for the body only. Let's see. We're going to have, getting these all separated. All right. Parallel arm bracket. You're going to need 5, right? If you're using this, there'll be 5. There'll be 2 here. Still sorting. I apologize. Okay, now we have 4 sets of 4 screws. 4 sets of 4. We have 4 of these screws. This is all going to be for the 4 holes here, these 4 holes. You'll have 4 of these that would be for a wood frame. You'll have 4 of these that are self-drillers, and 4 of these that are machine screws. Depending on your application, you use 1 set of those 4. I'm going to put those 4 back in the box, or bag. Now, we do have that 5th hole. You're going to have 1 each of the same type of screw, just a longer length, and a spacer. What in the world is that for? Let's switch to the screen view and talk about that spacer. Here's the item that we are looking at. Let's pull up what we're looking at here. Okay. The parallel arm bracket is going to get mounted here. Oh. It's awful. Sorry. Challenged this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. That 5th one can be over here. When you have a stop or a jam depth of frame that is so narrow that that 5th hole that would normally hit just fine here, 1, 2, 3, 4, where it would normally hit fine because your stop is wide enough, that spacer block is meant to fill in this area, and then you need that longer screw to run into the frame. You can have the short 4 here, the 1 long here. And it's just a matter of how deep your frame is. That's all it is. Let's switch back to the screen view, or the camera view. Then we have the 2 holes that will, if you use them to hold the shoe, the rod shoe, here, onto the PA bracket. If you use those, you're going to need these 2 small screws. The 4 that you might use over here, you can use here as well. Okay, so you'll have plenty of screws left over. That's these 2 small ones. If you are connecting the parallel arm bracket, very small flathead screws, you get these 2 unusual thin head or trim head screws with an Allen drive. That's to hold the cover onto the body itself, putting those two. The last screw in the package is the screw that's going to hold the main arm through here to the spindle coming out of the closer. Right here. And here are the holes for the cover. So we've gone through all of the fasteners in the package. We've accounted for all of them. You have 2 Allen wrenches. You're going to need the small one for those screws to hold the cover onto the body, the larger Allen wrench to affect your valves. Okay? That covers all of the parts in the bag. And we've dispelled all of that. I would really encourage you, if you install closers like this, whether or not you've done them never and will never do it after the one you're doing, all the way up to you do it all the time, save all your old parts. It's really handy to have, you know, if you had to buy these cost money, so save them. I don't know if this client's going to end up using sex bolts. I doubt that he will. Because of the application. I believe the doors are going to be solid 8-quarter lumber that they're building, so they will not use these because they'll have wood to go to. So there you go. Keep in mind, save your old parts. Now, this is obviously in the aluminum finish. The other thing that's going to it's going to be available in a dark bronze as well from Paramount. Installation instructions are going to be included with the package. Generally, installation instructions are a 4-page affair, and why are there 4 pages? Well, it's tri-packed. There are 3 ways to mount this closer, page 1, page 2, page 3. The 4th page, which is generally page 1, is an overview. Sometimes there is a listing of the parts that are included. Unfortunately, there aren't with these. I recognize that, which is why I went through the screws with you. Giving you the general concept on how to set the spring tension, where the valves are located and what they're called, etc. An overview of what the 3 mount types look like as well. So let's switch to the screen view and let's dive into these installation instructions. Here is the item that we are looking at, 441BCAL. Extended description information down below tells us it's a heavy-duty multi-power. That means it's a adjustable spring. Non-handed. There's your adjustable spring, 1 through 6. 1 through 6 is a reference to a very small size, even though the number 1 is used to mean multi-size. In this instance, they're talking about a very small, narrow, light door, out to the most extreme of door sizes and weights that a surface closer can handle. Factory preset to a size 3. I would think they'd want to have it set to a size 4. Well, let's back up. A size 3 would be appropriate for regular arm applications for standard doors. Presetting it to a size 4 would be appropriate for regular size doors with a parallel arm bracket installation. Power adjustable arm bracket. Okay, so I'm taking that to be a reference to how you install this arm. I don't know if the installation instructions reference that at all. Yeah, I don't see it. What you will see in some installation instructions is to take the rod shoe and flip it around, and you pick up a small advantage when it comes to closing power. That might be what they mean. If I don't forget, we'll talk about more of that in a moment. Tri-packed, regular arm, parallel arm, top jam. We'll go over all 3 of those types. You can go to 120 degree in those installations that are regular or top jam, but you can go to 180 degree for a parallel arm installation. Full body plastic cover included, precision cast iron housing, rack and pinion mechanism. That means that there are gears on the shaft through here, and then a rack that when the door is pushed open, it will force that gear over the rack to compress the spring. High quality non-gumming and non-freezing hydraulic fluid. Separate adjustable sweep and latch valves. That's two of the three valves. That's two of the four valves that are on there. Grade 1, we talked about that. One of the four valves, the Backcheck valve, allows you to control the point at which the Backcheck comes into play. Backcheck comes into play here. You take your door, okay, and you open it. Here's 90. Here is 70 to 185. Sorry, I said 70 to 185. I meant 70 to 85, somewhere in this range. If you were to push the door open, which you will, if you were to push it somewhat forcefully, you'll discover that somewhere between 70 and 85 degree, there can be a difference in the amount of force that you encounter when you push the door open. That's called the Backcheck. You can control where that kicks in. Why this has a Backcheck valve is because in an exterior application that swings out, you could have a door, you could have a condition by which the wind grabs the door, makes the door want to go this way, hyperextends itself over here to a point that it might damage the wall, hurt someone, things of that nature. So the Backcheck is meant to arrest the uncontrolled movement of the door in this direction. You can adjust that. Adjustable hold open function 90 to 170 is optional, as indicated. 10-year warranty, you can't shake a stick at that. UL listed, and this one's aluminum. Now, product brochure, let's go over that one first. This is from Paramount, a company that's in New Jersey, I think is where they are. A nice group of people over there. They are importers of material from Asia and Canada, that I know. This 441 closer, all the details are here, which we've just gone over. Talks about the different options. So this BC is Backcheck. F, you'll have a friction hold open. C, you'll have a cush arm. And H, you'll have a cush arm with a hold open. So what they are talking about here is regular arm, friction hold open, non-hold open cush arm, hold open cush arm. And cush is a name that they are using from another manufacturer, and those arms are shown here, but I don't see a friction hold open here. No, it's right here, forgive me. That's the friction hold open. Then we had a non-hold open cush. We have a hold open cush with a thumb turn. They show what is called an EDA or an extra duty arm here, although they don't list it available. We should be able to swap that in for you because they show the arms separately. Although you're just going to want to order the standard closer and then order the arm separately if you want a heavy-duty parallel arm. If you're going to install it in a parallel arm application where you know there's going to be substantial use, potential vandalism and abuse, non-hold open, I would go with the cush because it has a dead stop. But if you don't need a dead stop, an extra duty arm, the integrated parallel arm bracket is a great option. Just a far better connection than screwing your rod shoe, and this is the friction hold open, but screwing your rod shoe to the parallel arm bracket just avoids all of that with a more durable arm construction. You have 4 different types of drop plates. Drop plates are used when you don't have enough real estate onto which to attach the door closer body. They are used for top jam, parallel arm mount. Applications of that nature. We'll leave the discussion of drop plates to another video, but suffice it to say, if you don't have enough header space or enough top rail space to install the closer per the template, then yes, you need to look at a drop plate. You know what? Let's actually just do this. Link here below this video to the manufacturer's page. Go ahead and fire that up, and let's go to the product catalog. And let's copy this part number over and search it here. Let's see if we can find any data well, it's pretty much all what we've already been looking at, which is here, and the description of it. The 18, I was hoping for installation instructions. The 18, drop plate required for additional installation where door top rail is less than 3 3/4 with a minimum of 2 1/4. The 18G is for a top jamb installation where the closer must be flush with the top of head frame due to flush sealing condition. Okay, so the 18 is pretty self-explanatory. If the top rail of your door, aluminum storefront, let's say, you just simply don't have enough room up here, or you're below 3 3/4 but above 2 1/4 inch, you're going to use that 18 series. That flush installation that they just talked about is when you have a frame and it's run right to the ceiling, and you're going to do a top jamb mount. So that plate will come down and you're going to mount your body here. Your door will be here. Your door will swing in this direction, and your arm will come here. That's when you want to well, the closer's really going to be up over here a bit more. Forgive me for putting that in the wrong location, but this is the important part when you have a flush sealing condition. The 18PA, that's pretty self-explanatory. A parallel arm mount where your top rail is less than 6 inch but greater than 3 inch. A TJ is a top jamb mount. Is an 18 TJ is a drop plate used for a top jamb installation where your frame head is less than 3 inch but at least 1 3/4. That's pretty easy as well. Same scenario type that they're talking about here. Not a sealing condition problem, but when you simply don't have enough room to get your closer installed because this dimension is smaller than 3 inch but greater than 1 3/4 like you'd have on a typical hollow metal frame. Certainly an aluminum frame, but you've got to be careful for that because that aluminum frame might be 1.5 inches. Okay, and that's what those 4 drop plates are used for. The arms, we talked about that, so we'll skip over it. Sex bolts are included. An overview of where the screw holes lay on the footprint should you need to determine that. Okay, now let's hop over to the installation instructions. Let's now slide over to those installation instructions, which are here. As I'm scrolling through, I'm just making sure that this is what's in the packaging, and for all intents purposes, it appears to be. Well, okay. Yeah, there's additional information here as well. I've taken the liberty of scanning the original documents that are included with the actual hardware, not this. We'll close that off. This is the document that is included, so I've scanned it and here it is. So let's go over this actual document since this is the one that you'll see in the package. The other one is quite appropriate, but because Paramount is tied in with at least one other company in terms of them being a distributor for them, I believe that the installation instructions that have come are generic because this closer is quite inherently generic, where this exact same closer, same everything, will be private labeled. So I just want to use the documents that are included. So let's go over this, but first let's take stock of what we're dealing with. They do give a summary on this page as predicted, and then page 2 is just regular arm, page 3 is top jamb mount, and page 4 is parallel arm. And the installation instructions for all 3 methods are going to be all but identical. At least their logic is identical for sure. We'll explain what that logic is, obviously. So, surface mounted, adjustable power range 1 through 6, factory set to 3, adjustable speed control, adjustable back check. Speed control is adjustable through both the what would be the closing portion of the or the, you know, they've got sweep speed defined as basically 90 to about 15 degree, 10 degree. Then latch speed valve. So there's going to be a latch valve, a sweep valve, sweep 90 to about 10 degree, latch 10 to 0. Backcheck is in the opening cycle only. Again, adjustable from 70 to 85 or thereabouts. And I wonder if that, well, we'll get to it. Door must be hung on ball bearing or anti-friction hinges. Absolutely don't hang a door closer on plain bearing hinges. The door closer is not engineered to contend with a hinge that is not nearly as efficient as a ball bearing or anti-friction style hinge is. You need to be able to know that what you're attaching everything to has been properly reinforced, or you've accounted for that. For non-labeled wood doors, pre-drill and use wood screws. For steel reinforced hollow metal, drill and tap for the appropriate machine screws. For non-reinforced hollow metal doors and label doors, drill and use the sex nuts that are included, sex bolts. For steel frames, drill and tap for the appropriate machine screws. Hopefully that has been reinforced. For optional drop plates, hold open function, cushion rigid arm installation, see separate installation instructions. And those you'll be able to pick up here, or some of that information anyway. Door closure should not be installed on an exterior side of a door or frame surface. What they're meaning is don't put it outside in Chicago. Don't leave it on the exterior. It's not meant to be there. They're not weatherproof. Even though they have a fluid that doesn't freeze, that doesn't mean that its viscosity may not be, or the internals may not be impacted by the change in viscosity of the oil in relationship to temperature. So, you know, if you go to Mexico or a very warm latitude, you're going to see closers installed in exterior applications. Here in southern Florida, it happens all the time. But it's not recommended to be installed outside. Your summary of the 3 different mount types are here. That's a regular arm. I would not say that that's shown necessarily in the proper proportion with the arm. Top jam is here. Parallel arm is here. And we'll talk about which you have to determine, or determining that in a moment. General notes: that large Allen wrench is going to adjust the spring tension in the end of the cylinder. It's preset for a 3. Follow the table here as it pertains to a regular arm mount. In a regular arm mount or a top jam mount, follow this table. Okay? Let's see what it says. Closer is non-handed, designed to meet entrance accessibility requirements. Before installation, determine hand of the door and door closer size depending on door size. Turn the spring adjustment screw clockwise or counterclockwise, the required number of turns to match the door width as indicated in the chart. So, for a regular arm or top jam, follow this table. If you are doing this parallel arm, go to the next largest spring power rating. That's a great rule of thumb. So if you're doing a 3-foot door that is exterior in a top jam mount, you're going to turn it 3 turns clockwise. If you're doing that as a parallel arm, you're probably going to find that you'll need to increase the spring tension slightly. Door handing is listed here. They define the hand because they'll be referring to the hand of the door. Now, the next thing you have to do is determine, how are you mounting this? Are you mounting it regular arm, top jam, or parallel arm? So, if it is an interior door, such as a bathroom and a restaurant, those doors will swing into the bathroom, almost always. You'll probably want to install that in a regular arm mount. You'll want to make sure, however, and this comes up 1 out of 100,000 times, that when you have your installation, regular arm, your closer is going to go here. You want to make sure that when your door gets to 90 degree that there's enough room in here to fit your door closer. If you've ever been in a restaurant and you've seen that they've created a drywall pocket, I've seen it. Many people have seen it. It's to accommodate the closer body. So make sure if your wall is really tight, perpendicular to the frame, you're gonna have a problem with the projection of the body. So be mindful of that. But otherwise, if it's a restaurant bathroom, it's going to be a regular arm mount. If it is that same restaurant and it's the back service door, that door swings out because it is an emergency exit, you're going to do a parallel arm mount, is the bottom line. If you have the front door of that restaurant, very probable that you'll do a top jamb mount. But you have to decide how you're going to do it. Exterior door, that swing out, your body's going to be on the inside. And exterior door that swings in, you would do a regular arm mount, but that's somewhat uncommon because of just paths of egress. So you have to first determine how you're going to install the material. If it doesn't really matter, like that bathroom door in the restaurant, you can do it parallel arm or possibly regular arm. For that matter, you can probably install it top jamb. But what's the best of the three answers when you consider all things? I would personally not want to see the hardware from the dining room side of that door. I'd stick it on the bathroom side. It's what I'd like to do with it. So once you know what method you're going to use to install it, go to that page. And we'll pick parallel arm only because that's a little more involved. But the first thing that I want to point out to you is take note that this is a regular arm mount. We are looking at a left-hand door here. This is shown from the pull side of the door. I'm not sure why they're saying outswing door. This is a right-hand door. In-swing, I would still call this an in-swing door. I'm not sure why that's there. You'll notice that the spring tube end is towards the hinge on a regular arm. If we go to the top jamb mount, you'll notice that the spring tube end is towards the hinge on a top jamb mount. When we go to the parallel arm, you'll notice that the spring tube end is away from the hinge. That's how this needs to be pointed out, because I've had people call and say, hey, I've installed this door closer and the thing will only open like an inch and then it stops. And we start to go through it, and as soon as I hear that, my first question is, do they have the body installed pointed towards the proper end of the hinge? Now this closer is more potentially problematic, but the modern style closers that are thoroughly symmetrical in every regard, the client will usually determine that they've got the wrong end pointed towards the hinge. So that's what you need to make sure of. Once you determine the one of three ways of mount, make sure that you put the spring tube end towards the hinge side when it's appropriate, or away from the hinge side when it's parallel arm. What you'll also have on all three of these pages could be a reference, will be a reference to anything that's particular about that installation specifically, such as the parallel arm really ought to have some language talking about how you might need to increase the parallel, need to increase the spring tension is what I'm driving at. And indeed it does. Parallel arm installations reduces the door closing force one size lower, which means the maximum will be a 5. So if you have that 3-foot opening, an exterior parallel arm, you're losing one size of efficiency, so you're probably going to need to increase that a little bit. So be mindful of that. So we're going to look at the parallel arm installation. We've pointed out, watch where the spring tube end is. Each page will have something particular about it, so you'll just need to read that. But the logic that you'll use by which to install all of these is always going to be, okay, where do I drill the holes? That's always going to be referenced to this B dimension. Apparently they don't call it B dimension everywhere. But be mindful, they're referring to something, some dimension. There's always going to be a reference to the hinge, and that's the vertical axis of pivoting. That's the center of the hinge. So this B dimension is going to be determined based on, for the parallel arm, what's the degree of opening that you want to accomplish. You'll notice the closer you put it to the edge of the door, the greater the degree of opening will go. So a B dimension of 6.5 inch will get you out to 180 degree. So that's your B dimension. So now you know where to put it vertically on the door. Where to place those holes, well, that's going to be 2.5 inch from the soffit, not from the header. The soffit is... that's the stop. We can all agree to that. That's the face of the stop. That's the soffit. That's the rabbet. So they're not referring to here, they're referring to the soffit. So be mindful of that. 2.5 inch down to that first hole, then 2.25. Now all of a sudden, with the 1 inch and the 3 inch, you've got all 4 of your locations for your body. That's done. That's super easy. The other thing then you have to do is to figure out where you're going to put your parallel arm bracket, and that's going to be based on the A dimension from the same table, 7 7/8, to the center line, which would be that 5th hole spacer, should you need it. But it would be 1 1/16 in either direction at that point, as you can see here. And you'll basically flush that to the face of the stop, meaning take your parallel arm bracket and basically flush it here. They don't really refer to that, but that's generally what you'll see. Now, that fourth valve is here. They call it, note, before installing closer, turn the Backcheck selector valve on the closer mounting surface underside all the way in clockwise. On the face of your closer, you'll have 3 valves, but when you turn it over, you'll see that 4th valve. Close it clockwise all the way. That basically, because there's a lack of efficiency in a parallel arm mount, so in your mind's eye, think about the rotation of the arm in relationship to the spindle and the degree of opening with a regular or a parallel arm mount. But you can see, when you run that arm parallel, the main arm doesn't cycle through the same degree of movement as it would in either of these instances. So by closing that Backcheck valve on the back, it changes the path of fluid to help the closer gain back some of its efficiency. So close that down if you're doing parallel. Leave it where it is for the other 2 mounts, regular and top jam. Then you'll go through these particulars. Adjust spring power to match door width as indicated on the chart, page 1. Prepare your mounting holes. Attach your, when you attach the closer, make sure you're putting the spring tube end away from the hinges, obviously on the push side of the door. Attach the forearm link to the parallel arm bracket. Open the door and insert the rod and forearm. You're going to slide these 2 pieces together, and you're going to give it a small amount of preload, and then tighten that screw, just to make sure that a small amount, just so the closer draws the door in tight against the face of the stop. Then adjust your closing and latching speeds, which are only going to be these 2. L is the 0 to 10 degree. S is from 10 to 90. Do not back those out very much at all. Maybe one full revolution, not more. You don't want the valve to come out on you because they appear to be staked, where there's actually staking that's been done here and here and here, so that helps prevent you from turning those out. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. As you turn it clockwise, you're going to close the valve, slow it all down. You can even make it stop. You would never want to do that. But be mindful. Don't open it up very much. Adjust door closing and latching speed and the back check, which is that third valve on the front, as required. Cycle the door a couple of times between every instance of affecting change on those valves. I had a client on the phone with me yesterday for 10 minutes, and he was just having a heck of a time trying to get this, you know what's funny? This exact closer, in fact, dialed in, and it comes down to like a very small amount of movement on your valve. It comes down to an eighth of a turn at the most before you get it really dialed in. Once you have it there, it will stay there. Prepare door closer cover with cover inserts at the appropriate locations. With cover inserts at the appropriate locations according to the closer orientation. What they're saying here is there are little slide-out pieces that you might need to move to finish everything off so it looks nice and tidy. You would never really see it because it's on the top of the closer body, but the installation instructions tell you to do so. And if you have a fire-rated door, this is what you're being told to do. So that covers the installation instructions. My suggestion is first determine how you're going to mount it, what method I mean. Mark all your hole locations. Stop, double check everything. Once you're sure the locations that you've marked off are correct, center punch everything. Drill all your holes. Attaching the closer mechanically is quite easy at that point. Speaking of drilling all the holes, there is a company called Just Door Tools. They're completely there's no association with them in Paramount. But this template that they have here, the 4041 template, this metal template will make life super easy for you. If you're doing a lot of these, you can look into a template. Let's look at the more current 2019 instructions. Okay, it looks a little intimidating when you look at it, but I assure you, when you spend 5 minutes studying this, you'll master the concepts that are being discussed here. Gives you quick, reliable means by which to mark those holes very instantly. This closer actually does not include a paper template at all. I don't find that to be problematic. I do find it to be a bit unusual because the installation instructions tell you where to put everything. But some people want to put a piece of paper up there and drill right through it and be done with it. I prefer, and that obviously works for people. I don't trust myself to do that accurately. I need to understand where the dimensions are coming from. But everything is here. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, in conclusion, I would consider the company Paramount for door closers, for exit devices, for lock sets, some hinges. They have a smattering of the usual suspects when it comes to commercial hardware. Like I said, hinges, door closers, exit devices, lock sets. Why Paramount? Well, Paramount is just a company who imports material from somewhere not the United States. Countless people do that. There is no need in the world for another importer of foreign manufactured commercial building products. There's just no need for another one. You can buy this closer from 20 other people right now. But why Paramount? And here's why. Because there is a lady at Paramount who is exceptionally dependable, predictable, reliable, conscientious. She'll ask the question 3 times just to make sure she understood it the second time, meaning she wants to get it right in all instances at all times. They've even taken stuff home when it had to leave the same day and stopped at UPS for us. No one does that. And while this closer is going to be on par with countless others, it's the same closer. What are you really paying for? You're paying for the service, the technical support, the service. And that's what Paramount has way beyond other people who sell this same product that are orders of magnitude larger in gross sales. When you need it done and you need a tomahawk slam, from the top of the key, Paramount is who you're going to go to. They are just really dependable people. Because I'm not buying the closer. I can buy the closer anywhere. It's that service that you're paying for. So they nail that. They may not be hardware experts, and I find a lot of people in the world today aren't hardware experts, and that's okay, but they'll get the answer, and they'll do the work, and they'll double check, and they'll see it through. So that's what you're doing. And that's pretty much what I do with Paramount. Orders of, I just need some hinges and locks and closers and exits shipped. Just take care of this for me. Just take it off my hands. And they do a great job at that. The link below this video, which I jumped into earlier, the link to the manufacturer's page will allow you to review that full product catalog. Not everything in there they keep in stock, but much of it they do. And if they don't stock it, they can get it from their parent company. I'm not sure what the relationship is, but they're very willing to make sure that you get that material. They also have some unusual residential hardware that you may not find easily from other people. They have really neat pocket door, residential pocket door, privacy and passage sets that you can take a look at from them, and some other security hardware, spring-loaded, surface-mounted plunger-style door hold opens, a variety of accessory hardware. Take a look at their catalog. You certainly can't beat the service. Any questions on the Paramount 441BCAL or any other Paramount product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.